I think that I just want to be in the moment. I just want to be where my feet are planted. But the other side of that, the dark side of social media, is the pressure. Well, hey friends, welcome back to the podcast. I have been off. You guys, I have been off work for the last 20 days. This is my first official day back. I was coaching in the mastermind this morning. I'm recording a couple podcasts for you today. It feels good to be back. I'm also feeling froggy because I'm wearing terry cloth. If you're watching on YouTube, you're seeing it. I mean, who doesn't love terry cloth? Anybody that was born in the 70s or 80s, I feel like it's nostalgic. I love terry cloth. So I got my cute little terry cloth shirt from Evereve on. I'm pretty happy about it. It was a birthday gift. And I'm happy to be here on the podcast. So I want to tell you guys like kind of where I've been the last couple of weeks. So let's see. In the 3 weeks, this is all the things that have happened, okay, in the last 3 weeks. First, Jason, who you guys, a lot of you know is Mr. Magic, my hot husband, launched his golf apparel line. It's called Fairway Finest. You can see it at fairwayfinest.com. So he launched that 3 weeks ago. So he's got polos and hats and shirts. And so that launched. And then like days after that launch, I think it was 3 days later, Ava and I did a missions trip to Mexico City through our church and through Operation Serve International. So we were gone for 8 days to Mexico, serving with 2 different churches there. It was amazing. It was life-changing. For those of you who have never been on a missions trip, I can't just say enough how good it is, how wonderful it is to serve, how just that reset of perspective is, I think, so healthy and necessary in our world. And it was so good being there with Ava. So I made a decision. I didn't get saved until I was a junior in high school. Let me just say that. And was not raised in a Christian household, never had been on a missions trip until 6 years ago when I took our oldest son, Noah, also with Operation Serve International, to Mexico City. Love that. That organization does an incredible job. And I wanted to make sure that I took each of my kids on a missions trip before they left home, just to give them that, life experience. And also just to try to stir the gifts that God, has planted in each of them. And Ava definitely has a gift of evangelism, and just taking care of people and loving on them. And so I knew she would do well, but getting to see your daughter in a completely different light and getting to see her like serve people in that way, it changed me as a mom. And so anyhow, Ava and I were in Mexico City for 8 days. We got home. I turned 52 the day we came home from Mexico. That's right. 5'2". I'm happy I'm still here. Our daughter Ari turned 9 the next day, which, yes, I can do the math. We adopted Ari 4 years ago. And so we were obviously a little bit older when we adopted. So we'll be 800 years old when Ari graduates from high school, but that's okay. And then we hopped a plane, 5 out of the 6 of our family members, because Noah's busy working in Scottsdale, and went to our house, bougie on the beach in Florida for the rest of the week. It was amazing. Okay. So that's where I've been for 3 weeks and what I've been doing. And so we're just getting back to the podcast. And the reason I wanted to share that with you is because what I'm going to talk about on the podcast today came out of that time off. And so the other day, here's what happened. Jason actually left Florida a few days early and came back with the 2 biggest kids because they wanted to go to a wedding. And so he brought them back. I stayed in Florida with Ari. I can't even tell you like how much I love to just lay on the beach and just stare into space. Sometimes I read a book. The majority of the time I just stare at the ocean. I'm just watching the waves, and it does something to my soul. It restores, it refreshes. I've done other podcast episodes. I would have to go find the link for you. How about I do this? I will put the link in the show notes to another episode I did about how, as creatives, I think traveling, whether it's to the park up the street or across the country, is necessary for our souls. And so anyhow, I love just to be there. And when I am at our home in Florida, something magical happens inside of me, which is that I forget that I need to post on social media a lot. I forget to look at social media a lot. Number one, our house in Florida, Bougie on the Beach, is on a stretch of 18 miles of highway called 30A. It's in between Destin, but it's not Destin, and Panama City, but it's not Panama City. So 30A is in between those two cities. It's 11 little tiny towns that are highly populated at this point with tourists on that 18-mile stretch. It's really interesting because the Wi-Fi down there just stakes all over the place on 30A. I remember just a couple of weeks before we left, Easton was down there with some friends and he messaged me and he's like, Mom, the Wi-Fi is just trash. And I'm like, I know, son, and it's a gift. Like, you're there with actual people, turn off the phones. So I will say that sometimes I think maybe I forget to post on social media, or that I'm supposed to post on social media because the Wi-Fi is crappy. And then I'm also not surfing and I'm just staring into space. And the beach just does something to me. It allows me to, like, my brain to almost decompress in a way that allows it to have space to think about work in a different way. And so one of the things that I was thinking was this: I'm laying on the beach and I'm thinking, shoot, I need to be taking more video footage of the ocean. And one of the things I love about the ocean, and I think a lot of you creatives may relate to this, and if you do, like, put in the comments below here on YouTube. And you know what, let me just ask this question. How many of you love the mountains and how many of you love the ocean? Because it's two very different feelings, right? The ocean makes me feel completely at peace. The mountains make me feel like, how can you not believe in a God that is so amazing? Because it's just so majestic. It's just so huge and beautiful. And I feel so tiny and small in comparison. And so I love both. But one of the things I love about the beach is just that it changes every day. So we had several storms while we were there. And there's a point to me telling you all this, by the way. There's a business point coming up. But there was a storm a couple of different times. I had it on my Instagram stories because, by the way, Instagram stories does not feel like work to me. I don't mind doing Instagram stories. So I'm really talking more about posts on Facebook, YouTube videos, TikTok videos, reels for Instagram. That's what I'm talking about here. But so the beach is constantly changing, the way the water comes in, the shoreline. Like sometimes at Bougie on the Beach, it's a real gradual entrance into the ocean. It's like a, what do you call that? We have a pool in our neighborhood that's a 0-degree entry. Is that what it's called? Where it's like a slight slope. Other times the waves are hitting different, and we have a 1.5 to 2 foot drop off, like a ledge of sand. So I love watching it change. And in my head, I'm laying there thinking, okay, the water's a different color today than it was yesterday. I should totally be like taking some footage so I can make a reel. And I'm also thinking, okay, we've got a launch of my Better Way program coming up in August. I should be, making some content based on that. I should be recording myself laying on the beach and being like, hey, if you want a beach life too, you need to make money, being a coach or a consultant. Like all this stuff's running through my head. I'm thinking, okay, we've got a workshop coming up. I should be doing videos and things while I'm down there telling you guys to sign up for my workshop, but I couldn't, you guys. I literally just couldn't. And it's not just this time, it's every time I'm there. It's super interesting because I think that a lot of times as business owners, we have a lot of like, I shoulds that we're thinking in our mind. I should be posting. I should be capturing content. I should be filming. I should be, getting pictures on the beach. I should be doing this. I should be doing that. And then sometimes for me, I think that I just want to be in the moment. I just want to be where my feet are planted so much while I'm at the beach that I forget about the I shoulds. And so then I'm going to tell you what happens as a business owner. And for those of you who just like to listen to me talk, I know there's a couple of you that have babies and your babies go to sleep at the sound of my voice, which makes me both feel honored and like, how boring is that? I must sound like a sleep machine. No, I love it when you guys message me that sort of thing. But if you're not in business, I know this is going to be really hard to wrap your head around. If you are in business, there's some of you that this will probably bring tears to your eyes because you get it so deeply. There's something that has happened in business, which basically looks like this. We have to almost be on social media and not just on occasion, but on a very consistent basis in order to grow a business in the online space in 2023. If you are one of the women that I coach, so you're taking whatever skill God has given you and you're teaching it to other women, or you're coaching other women on a one-on-one basis on it. You're an amazing painter, so now you're doing a painting membership group. You are an amazing author, so now you're doing a course on how to write. You're doing one-on-one consulting for people's marriages. Like if that's you, you know exactly what I'm talking about right now. There is a very real pressure to be on social media. And what ends up happening is like, I think sometimes we can know in our knower, okay, I don't have to be on social media. I can just take some time off. But the rub is this: we know we will pay by way of reach, by way of engagement, by way of the fact that we're very forgettable if we take a hiatus. Some of you know exactly what I'm talking right now, because on one hand, you're like, I want to totally disconnect. And on the other hand, you're like, if I disconnect, I'm going to pay for it. And that feels like a rub. It's a conundrum. It's like a what do I do? The truth is your reach will suffer if you're not putting regular content on social media. And so this last week when I was on the beach, in my head, I was like, I should be doing all this stuff. I should be doing all this stuff. And I got to a point where I was like, you know what? I am 52 years old. And if my reach is going to suffer because I want to be completely in the moment with my husband and my children this week, then so be it. Reach smeech, I don't care. And that's where I got to this weekend. The pressure to post, the pressure to constantly be creating, the pressure to show like how great your life is so that you are able to, try to get other people to come on the journey with you so that you're able to get other people to sign up for your stuff. Like it is so real, friends. And it's also gross. I've also decided it's just gross because in addition to having the pressure to come up with content, post the content, engage with the content, make sure that the content is applicable for what the algorithm likes right now. In addition to that, you have to actually run your stinking business. I have to actually be coaching in addition to talking about people coaching. Does that make sense? I have to actually be showing up and doing my podcast, which I love to do, in addition to posting about my podcast. And so where we used to live in a world where we just did one thing as entrepreneurs, we just did the thing we did. So back when I owned the Magic Brush, my painting company, I just would send out flyers on occasion. I'd take an ad out in the Yellow Pages. Some of you are too young to remember what that is. Feel free to Google Yellow Pages, pictures of Yellow Pages. And so we used to do that on a minimal basis and then just do our job. I just actually painted for people. The difference between the year 2000, when I started that company, well before social media was a thing, and the year 2023 is it's insane. So on one hand, social media is the best thing that ever happened to business. And it is what allows me to even have another house in Florida. It's what allows Jason and I to have, our Airbnb in Arizona as well. It allows us to live this lifestyle. But the other side of that, the dark side of social media is the pressure, is the pressure not only to record your entire life, but to figure out what parts of it to show, what parts of it to make into content. How much content can you make it into? Is it the right content for social media? Posting said content for social media, engaging with the people that engage with you, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I want off the content wheel. I was thinking about that as I laid on the beach this week. It feels like a hamster on a wheel. And the only way that wheel stops is when the hamster, basically gives out or the wheel gives out. And I don't know that I necessarily am even going to give you guys any answers about this today. And I don't even know, I'm just trying to share some thoughts. That's what I'm trying to do. Just share some thoughts, because I know some of you have the same thoughts I do. And I think that it's really a struggle right now to try to figure out, how much do I record the highlights of my vacation and film all the good stuff? But how do I make sure that I'm not just recording and filming to the point where I'm not being in it and enjoying it? And for those of you whose businesses maybe are not, they haven't grown a ton based on social media, or for those of you that are not in business, I know what you're going to say, just stop. And I will tell you that is way easier said than done. In the 15 years that I've been on Facebook, I've taken a 2-week break once, and that was to finish Fear Is Not the Boss of You. I don't know what the answer is, but I do know this. The older I get, the more I just want to buck what is expected of me and how people tell me I need to be doing things. And it's super interesting because if you know anything about the DISC personality profile, the DISC DISC personality profile, which I love, I did that at our church years and years ago. I am a high S the majority of the time, but a high I, which is very inspirational, a lot of fun when I'm at work, but the majority of the time I'm a high S. And our pastor said something to Jason one time, because my husband is a high I, which basically just means life is a party for him all of the time. So I'm married to the party guy. And as a high S, like I really like stability. I really like everything to be super stable. I really am like a loyal, committed. I don't like a lot of ups and downs. And so I'm really even keel, and my husband is a roller coaster. Okay. But it's interesting because one time Jason and our pastor were talking, and our pastor said something to Jason about high S personalities. He said that a lot of times they will be compliant on the outside, but defiant on the inside, which isn't always a good thing, by the way. In this case, though, I feel like it's good because while I have been being compliant to the algorithms, while I have been being compliant to what is required of me or what I felt was required of me on social media, on the inside, I've been getting more and more and more defiant. And it started when the pandemic happened. At the beginning of the pandemic, some of you remember, I lost a ton of hair. I was getting ready to do a 12-city book tour for Fear Is Not the Boss of You, and my hair started falling out. And when I say falling out, it wasn't even falling out at the root. It was like getting shorter, shorter, shorter. And so I was losing my hair like crazy. Over half of my hair was gone within a 2-month period. And then the pandemic hit, and I stopped doing Facebook Lives then. Now, for those of you that have followed me for longer than 3 years, you will know that one of the ways I have grown my following to, 360,000 people on Facebook, 100,000 plus on Instagram, 100,000 plus on Pinterest is by going live on Facebook. It was something that I taught all the people in my, monthly groups, in my course, et cetera. And I just quit because I was like, I don't want to show up live right now when I don't know what's happening in the world, when our kids are, missing graduation and prom and everything else, when my book tour has been canceled and I've lost half my hair. So I've never gone back. I've never gone back to doing Facebook Lives. And can I just tell you, it is so stinking freeing. And it's so freeing right now to think about, how can I do this business different to where I do social media on my terms? How can I do this in a way where I can still feel like I can live my life in the moment, but I post what I want to post and when I want to post it, not just to appease the algorithm? It's like, I'm so tired of the algorithm that I could scream, because the truth is the algorithm changes all the time. 1 week it's reels, the next week it's, reels aren't getting nearly as much attention. Those of you who are in my inner circle, this. There was a time a year or two ago where reels were the jam, and now it's like, wah, wah. So then it's, post carousel posts, and there's now static posts, and then it's going live on Instagram. Like, it's so changing all the time that I need to simplify some things. And, the thing that I have done for the last 10 years is to teach women how to be successful building a business online. And I want to be able to continue doing that in a way where we can all keep our sanity and get off the hamster wheel of content creation. I think maybe at 52, I'm just really desiring for it to be simple. And so I think I'm doing this podcast just to let you know that if you're somebody who's been feeling exactly like I've been feeling, like I just want to be able to do what I want to do in terms of, what God has blessed me with, use the gifts that God has given me, but not feel like I have to post all the time. Like, I want you to know, I get it. I get it. And, I was thinking this week about how, like, my job is to coach other women, and having to coach myself while at the same time coaching other women is like next level stuff. I'm wondering if ignoring the algorithm and ignoring consistency and ignoring the temptation to record everything for content may be the new freedom. I'm wondering. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. But I do know that I've seen a lot of people take social media breaks lately. I told the ladies in my mastermind this morning that I don't feel like God is calling me to that yet. I knew that I knew that I knew. It would have been 4 years ago now when I needed to take off. The Lord was very specific for me to take off 2 weeks and finish writing my book. And so I did that. And I only twitched for like the first 3 or 4 days. But I can tell you that I'm seeing a trend here of social sabbaticals. And I watched several people who are friends of mine take sabbaticals this summer. My friend Christy Wright took June and July off from social media. My friend Lisa Whittle, I think she took June off for the entire month. You can follow all these people on Instagram. Anthony ONeal, who is a new friend of mine in my mastermind with me, he took the entire month of July off for his birthday month. And I'm like, seed planted, because July is my birthday month too. And I'm sitting here pondering, what would it look like for me to take next July off of social media totally? Could I even do that? I don't know. My friend Sean Cannell is off of social media entirely this week. I saw that Jasmine Starr, who I don't know, but she's taking a 2-week sabbatical. So I want you to know that I'm seeing a trend here and I like it. Because the trend is a bunch of people going, you know what? We're just not going to do the hamster wheel all the time right now. And we're going to get back to letting the important stuff be the important stuff. And we're not going to just be machines, because none of us were created to be content machines. And that is essentially what you almost have to do anymore to be successful in the online space. And I don't like it. So I've been trying to think, okay, so what are some of the things we can do to like get off the hamster wheel? And I know one of the things is like scheduling your content out in advance. So you can use the scheduling systems, inside of the native social media platforms, schedule your posts on Facebook or whatever. That way, when if you want to take a week off, a weekend off, 2 weeks off, whatever, stuff is still going out. You can use a social media manager to post things for you. You could hire Businesses, which is my VA agency. They could post things for you. For those of you like your VA agency, yes. Businesses has been around for 18 months now, going on 2 years now. It's at bizassistagency.com. It is a ton of virtual assistants who are able to help you make your websites, your logo, do your social media, write your emails, etc. That all work for Team Allwood. So you could do that. And another idea is you don't have to post things in real time. Like, let me give you this for example. Jason and the 2 older kids left the beach 3 days before Ari and I did. And I didn't want to do content that was showing myself and Ari alone or talking about us being there just for safety reasons, just for, just trying to be wise in what we're posting. So there were some things like that I recorded or took photos of, et cetera, that day. And I talked about them a few days after, or the day that we were flying home, because you don't always have to post things in real time. So those are all ideas. We do have a content catalog that you can get this month in my inner circle that would help you, so you never have to try to stare at a blank screen again. If you want to go to creatorsinnercircle.com and join me, I would love to have you there. But those are all just some thoughts on how we can try to get off of the hamster wheel. I just think that the online space has just gotten so noisy, and that we have fallen, because for a while, like, I think social media was still new enough that we didn't mind having to have regular, consistent, content, and our socials were growing when we posted regular, consistent content. I think now regular, consistent content is not necessarily what's growing people's social media platforms. And I feel like there are a lot of people that are just frustrated with that, because they're like, do I even bother posting if it's not helping, if it's not growing things, if it's not selling my course, if it's not getting more people in my paid group? Like, why even bother? And I just want you to know, I get it. Like, I get it. I think we are seeing a swing, folks, of people getting back to the desire to be in real time versus just recording everything we're doing so we can use it for content. I do think that we are seeing a shift where there are some people with very big names in the online space who are leading the way in taking breaks, taking sabbaticals, and just saying, you know what, I'm tired of the content machine. And for this season, whatever that season is, a month, a week, whatever, I'm getting off of it. And I just want to high five those people. And just to let you guys know that if that's what you're feeling like, man, life is too short to be doing in business all the things that you should be doing, especially if you're not seeing fruit out of them, when the reality is you want to be doing your business in a different way. Do it your way. Do it your way, friends. So I just felt like I just gave you guys a brain dump. Welcome to my brain, where we talk about terry cloth and sabbaticals and my husband and all the things, all in the same podcast. So if this was helpful to you, would you just leave me a comment below here on YouTube? I would love to know your thoughts. If this really resonated with you and you're like, man, I've got some other friends who are in business that I know would probably benefit just from hearing this, would you just forward this podcast to them? That's how we get more people to download the podcast without having to advertise it, and just know that I appreciate you. So, all right, friends, I hope that that's helpful. Any of the links that I talked about today in this podcast, I'll put down in the show notes. I want you to know I'm thinking of you, love you, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.